Mr. Rogers was famous for saying that whenever you see disasters or moments of terror in humanity, always look for the helpers, the people trying to do good in order to encourage yourself and remember that there's humanity in the world. And while I find that this isn't sufficient to assuage all of my fears when disaster strikes, I don't think it was meant to do that fully. But I do find it encouraging. So I want to share a story that I don't tell often about Hurricane Katrina, and something I often think about to remind myself of the goodness of humanity and the unexpected grace you find in other people. So in 2005, after Katrina hit Louisiana, I was in Florida at the time, and I told my mom that I wanted to go do something. And I was 16, and my mom found a Rotary Club from Georgia that was driving to Louisiana, never met these people in her life, and put her 16-year-old boy in a truck with a group of strangers headed for hurricane disaster relief. Around this time, there were stories of people in Biloxi, Mississippi, hijacking caravans of federal vehicles because they were getting looked over or passed over as people were going to New Orleans. And so actually, towards the end of our trip, we were actually included in like a military caravan. We set up at a church with a bunch of other groups, nonprofits, and churches, and we began showing up trying to help. With chainsaws and shovels, we were cleaning up schools and houses. And then eventually we got connected with this church group that was feeding the National Guard, who was doing search and rescue. We got these crazy badges printed off, which allowed us to go past like red tape lines. And it was the first time in my life that I actually saw places with the markings that actually showed that there was a dead body underneath the rubble. Around this time, the group that we were with that was supplying food for the National Guard said, hey, there is some group in New Orleans that's feeding 20 to 40,000 meals a day. We don't know much about them, but we do know they are constantly running out of food and we need volunteers to drive to go get them. You would be a part of a military caravan. Is there anyone that would volunteer to drive a U-Haul truck worth of food to them? One guy volunteered and they said they needed someone to go with him, and I volunteered to go with him. When we drove and arrived, what I saw there wasn't what I expected. It was a commercial kitchen in the back of a tractor trailer, like an 18-wheeler. And it was running around the clock by 12 people from Mennonite Disaster Relief. So like ladies with hair bonnets and pastel dresses, men with suspenders and white shirts. We're literally working around the clock, taking 2 to 3 hour naps. And I remember immediately getting a lump in my throat. Because as we were all trying to think of like who this group is and what they were doing and what they were capable of, we imagined some large operation. But what we saw was a slice of shared humanity. People who probably have strong theological convictions that we might disagree with, who showed up in a moment of crisis to help other humans. And again, this doesn't let anyone off the hook who might be guilty or culpable as a part of a tragedy. It doesn't make you feel better whenever there's something absolutely terrorizing on TV, but it's a good reminder that you will always be able to find the helpers. And the only reason things are so terrifying and terrible is because when you see the good in humanity, you know that the terrible is not the way it's supposed to be.